Friends.
Music.
Lovers. Oh, is the music repeating? I swear. Actually, I don't swear much. Yes, friends, lovers, thank you for joining us. And welcome to 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. I'm Robert Nasir.
I'm Amy Nasir.
And you know who you are. Thank you for being here. And if you're listening live, Sunday, 6 p.m., or whatever time in the world it is, wherever you are, we'll get into that. You're right where you ought to be. Today is March 2nd, a day for action.
Woo!
I say that because March 4th is right around the corner, and we will, of course, because we are all happy jokesters, we will all March 4th, and spring is right around the corner.
Yay!
Don't know which corner, but it's right around one of those corners. Real quick, today is Sunday, March 2nd, 2025, the 61st day of this, your best year yet. And today is all about making this your best year yet. Among other things, after today, there are 304 days left to make that happen. Christmas is in 298 days. Halloween is in 243 days.
Yeah!
And spring. Spring is in 18. Actually, the Spring Equinox, well, here in the United States. Just saying the name of my country makes me grimace. This is a terrible thing. I love America. Oh, don't make me hate my country. No, Spring Equinox in North America occurs on Thursday, March 20th, 2025 at 5:01 a.m., which is weird because I guess that means that the day before at 5:01 p.m. would be the start, and then 5:01 p.m. after. Would that be the actual 24-hour period in which they're exactly... Whatever. Spring is in 18 days. It's interesting to me because the Spring Equinox in Australia, where the kangaroos jump, where they cook shrimp on the barbie, down in Australia, down under. I know we've got one listener from Australia. I assume we have several, but there's only one that I know well from Australia. Tuesday, September 23rd. That's right. It's the fall equinox down in Australia, down in Africa, wherever there are parts of your country south of the equator, down in South America.
Yeah.
Who sends us all their criminals, or so I heard.
Not.
They must be sending the best people, because can you imagine? Okay, I'm not even going to get into the politics until later. So, on this date, all I had on this date was something about the Salem witch trials, 1692. The day before today, these three women were charged with the illegal practice of witchcraft. Folks, witchcraft. And there are still people in the world who believe in that stuff or things very much like it. We have come a long way, baby.
You know what I believe in? I believe in pet to human reincarnation, or transmorphication, or
transubstantiation, transsexuality. I don't know, trans something.
I saw it on television. And, they can tell you, know, who your pet used to be.
Your dog may have been Napoleon.
Annie Oakley. Anyway,
you might have named
I shared that on Facebook, and that was like the highlight of my week.
That was great. And there are people most people understand at the very end in these tiny letters they write, for entertainment purposes only, when they sell you this information about your pet. But for all you know, your cat, who you thought would be clever to name Caesar, might have actually been Caesar. Who knows?
Or Cleopatra.
People believe this stuff. Now, I know you're all thinking, wait a minute, that's 1692, the Salem witch trials. And our conservative friends, it's always our conservative friends, are very quick to share as they defend the idea of religion in the public square. Well, in the Salem witch trials, there were only 20 women who were condemned in those trials. So, you think of the Salem witch trials and you think it must have been rampant all over the place. They're just rounding up every woman who's a little bit different and, hanging them all. No, they only tried 20 women in that particular Salem witch trial, and I think only 19 of them were executed.
Oh, that's very considerate.
I don't
I don't
understand.
do conservative friends of ours or people that we know, what do they say?
Well, they just point out it's very fringe. It was very unusual, and so it's not a condemnation of the ideas of tradition and community and religion and.
Well, I mean, being totally repressed as a woman, now that was a little less unusual.
See, most of the crazy things we've believed through the ages didn't get you hung.
Yeah.
Poorly hung or well hung. Either way, those things didn't happen to most people. It was more just you were a little bit pressured to believe this and pressured to believe that and to withhold, for example, sex before marriage. Keep your virginity. And if you were gay, well, just don't admit it. Just don't tell anybody. Just stay in that closet over there. And these conservative religious practices, they weren't that dangerous because you could do all of these things, to sort of accommodate yourself to them. So I absolutely say the Salem witch trials are an absolute condemnation of that kind of behavior, regardless of whether it was 20 or 200 or 2,000 women who were hanged for being, people believed in witches. They were hanged for witchcraft.
So,
and that goes in the category of we've come a long way, baby.
So there's a range of at least like 100,000 people who were persecuted or killed in Europe for being witches.
And that goes back to the 1400s. What do we got? 15th and 16th centuries. Yeah. Yeah, just because, what happens is we want to say, well, not in America. There wasn't as much in America. So, yeah, the point is people who believed in witches, they don't believe in that stuff anymore, right? Nobody believes crazy stuff like that anymore, right? Well, we have come a long way, baby. I'm not going to do any other on this date. That's all I've got, other than a few birthdays. It's the birth date of Theodore Geisel, of course, Dr. Seuss. Passed away in 91, lived to be 87. But, yeah, great. I love that. Interesting, too. I always assumed he was American, and he was. That just his sense of style and humor and wordplay just seemed very American. But after attending Dartmouth College, New Hampshire, he went to Lincoln, which is part of Oxford. He went to England and finished his studies there. So, yes, charming, delightful, very intelligent. And if you remember, a few years ago, he was like super controversial. Because he did some books which probably didn't seem that outrageous in their time, but which actually were.
I see.
And so some books got pulled from libraries, got banned from libraries. And people thought, they're pulling Dr. Seuss out of the libraries because, the left can't handle rough language or, difficult concepts. The books that they pulled out, they were right to pull out. They weren't pulling Green Eggs and Ham or The Cat in the Hat out of the libraries. So yes, a posthumous happy birthday to Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss. Also the birth date of, I had one other one today. Jennifer Jones. If you haven't seen the film Love Letters yet, go out and see Jennifer Jones in Love Letters.
Yes.
An unusual film with a unique charm because it had a unique writer. Ayn Rand was the screenwriter for that. It wasn't her story. It was based on a book, but she really changed most of what was in the book.
Yes.
So it plays a little like an Ayn Rand story.
Yeah, a little bit more meaningful, or actually probably a lot more meaningful and intriguing.
Yeah, and some of the dialogue could only have been written by Ayn Rand.
Yes.
So a happy posthumous birthday to Jennifer Jones, who starred in Love Letters.
Oh my gosh. Jennifer in the chat here on YouTube says that she was named after Jennifer Jones.
Really?
Really?
Oh.
I didn't know this. That's so cool.
Well, very good. Beautiful women should have common origin stories or something like that. And Jennifer is that. Two more birthdays for people who are still alive. John Bon Jovi, if you're a Bon Jovi fan. The band named after Bon Jovi. He's 57. No, excuse me. He is 63. That makes him older than me. Wow. Still out there rock and rolling.
Yeah.
I like it when people don't get any older, or they do, and they just keep rock and rolling.
Yes.
I look at the Rolling Stones. Look at John Anderson. Look at the guys in Yes. So yes, I love it. Keep rocking out. Bon Jovi had great tunes, great hits. They're fun to play if you're in a cover band, like people like me. I wasn't a big Bon Jovi fan, but I like his style. I like his personality.
There's a story there where you were calling him Aju, or either that or Aju Bon Jovi.
Well, yeah, back in my fast food restaurant days, some folks know I worked my way through college in fast food restaurants and somehow never managed to finish my my bachelor's. But yeah, I used to work at a Hardee's restaurant, and I was a manager, but one of my employees would not call au jus, which we used for roast beef sandwiches, he wouldn't call it au jus, he would call it Bon Jovi.
Oh, that's right. He was a punk rock kid, wasn't he?
He was a punk rock kid, and
that's what you do.
And even, not just while we were prepping things, but during operations, he would, say, yeah, I'm getting more Bon Jovi. And people who knew him would know what he was talking about. Everybody else, what the hell are you talking about? So, yes, happy birthday.
I like that story.
63rd birthday to Bon Jovi.
I've got to mention that we missed it, but January 28th, a little bit more than a month ago now, it was National Amy Day. So, wow.
National Amy Day.
Yeah, it's a National Amy Day.
Wow.
See, look at that.
Huh.
Dedicated to honoring all the amazing women and girls named Amy.
I wonder if there were important people named Amy born on that date that makes that Amy Day.
I don't know what the history of it is, but I kind of like it, so I'll celebrate that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and let's see. Oh, and also, very sadly, yesterday it was... There were a couple of, I think Angie Stone, who was an R&B artist, tragically passed away in a car accident, of all things.
Oh.
I know, and it is very sad. And also David Johansen, formerly of the New York Dolls,
yes.
and Buster Poindexter. Yeah, he passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, so sad. But it's nice to... I was looking at some old videos of David Johansen, and he was a great guy. He was really a showman. I mean, he was a real performer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He had the stage presence.
And like Bon Jovi, he was also an actor.
Oh yeah, that's
yes,
right.
Including his role as a taxi driver in Scrooge, which we did watch over the Christmas holiday.
Yes, we did.
Did he die of a fever?
No.
I heard he was hot. Yes. So
No.
Yeah, the last birthday, Daniel Craig is 57 years old today. If you've been enjoying the Knives Out series, well, it was a movie, and then they made a follow-up. Well, they've made a third follow-up that should be out this year.
Yeah. Also in the chat, Alex, a.k.a. Equal to Reality, he says it's National Banana Cream Pie Day.
I did not see that, and I did not have a banana cream pie ready for that.
And it's also Cornish Pasty Week.
Okay.
Let's see, what's the difference between Cornish pasties and the ones that they have up in the UP of Michigan?
We'll have to look that one up. Yeah, the pasties are a big item in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and the northern parts of the Lower Peninsula, but it's really a UP, Upper Peninsula thing here in Michigan, in the state where you show people where you live by holding your hand up, and you say, oh, we're right about here. Yes, so you do that research there. Well, that's all I've got for On This Date. Under shameless self-promotion of what are we listening to this week, I listened to an episode that we did on Life on Earth. Everything is finite, so memento mori. Memento mori means remember that someday you are going to die. Remember your mortality.
You're going to kick it.
You're going to kick it.
We all kick it eventually.
Yeah, so make that bucket list before you kick that bucket. I love that idea of memento mori because if you just say it in English or whatever your native language is, remember death, remember you're mortal, it just doesn't sound good. It's a downer. But, memento mori and with some nice Gothic or Halloween-style graphics, that works for me. You're right. Every day you get 24 hours. It's the coolest thing. You get all this time to play with, and you get to do whatever you want with it. But when it's gone, it's gone. And any day that you waste is one more that you've lost. So yes, everything is finite, including me, including you, so memento mori. I also watched a video called The Science of Taking Action. And it got me thinking about action this week. And the reason is, and I mentioned this earlier, it's March 2nd. March 4th is right around the corner. It's 2 months into the new year. If you had resolutions, if you had goals, if you had plans, if you had aspirations for this year, hopefully you are well into them and you are making those things happen. But if some of them are going slower than you wanted, or if some of them you started and then stopped and need to pick it back up again, this is the day that you are going to take action.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why. Because I will tell you how. And you will come away from this episode saying, oh, man, I got to do some of that stuff that Robert said.
All right.
Actually, you might say, I need to do some of that stuff that Jean said.
Oh, yes.
Because Jean Maroney had something to say about that, too. If you signed up, if you are already signed up for her email newsletter from Thinking Directions, which I'm sure you are because I've told you to do it before, then you already know. This morning's email was on the topic of ramping back up after you've been off your routine. Well, that certainly goes along with that video that I was watching on, taking action, the science of taking action. Well, Jean Maroney Binswanger, takes you through the process of ramping back up after you've been off your routine. And the first thing that kind of comes out of that title is, do you have routines? Have you got routines that are serving you in taking action, in moving toward your goals? If not, that would be something to think about. But her point today was, but what if you get sick? You're under the weather for a few days, you stop doing your routine. Or what if you go on vacation? You take some time off and your usual routines don't happen. Somebody else is feeding the cat or doing whatever the things are. She uses feeding her cat as one of her examples.
Yes.
And her point is that, yes, you ramp back up. And she gives tips for how to do that. But the one thing you don't want to do is say, well, if I can't just start doing all of the things that I need to do as I've been doing them, I'll fail, because I know if I just try to do everything, it won't work, so I give up. I just give up. No, her point is you have to ramp back up. And the reason is it took you time to develop all of those routines, to get into all of those things. So it's going to take you time to get back into them. Now, you've already got the routines. You may have them written down or just memorized in your head. So it won't take you as long to get back into your routine as it did to develop your routine, but it's going to take time. And that's something you've got to acknowledge. But it does require that you do take action, at least the first one or two or three things that get you rolling again, and then you can pick up the fifth or sixth or seventh thing. Don't ask me why I skipped the fourth thing. The fourth thing isn't important. Don't even bother to do the fourth thing. But you've got to take action. Life rewards those who take action. Now, in the philosophical community, of course, we would never be subject to the idea of, well, we know all about how to live, but we never get around to putting a lot of these ideas into practice. No, we would never make that mistake. But some of us, before we were as philosophical, may have some familiarity with procrastination or not being as planned and organized as we might be. I know you wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
No. I never take naps in the middle of the day.
Yes.
Kind of always do, kind of.
But there's an expression that failing to plan is planning to fail. If you don't make plans, then nothing's going to happen. But the reason why some of us, you decide for yourself, I'm not making accusations, but the reason why we take action without planning, why do we just jump into things? And it's often for the same reason that some of us don't take action at all on something. Because, failing because we didn't think about doing it right, that's no fun. But what's even more no fun? What's even worse than that is, we take the effort to really think about it and plan it, and then we fail anyway. Now that feels much worse. If you could jump into things and, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But the feeling afterwards is, I did just kind of jump into it, and sometimes that's not going to work. But if you really invest, if you put in time and energy, you put pen to paper and actually write it out, and then you engage with other people who are involved or you just bring them on board as accountability buddies so you can tell them afterward, yeah, I did the thing. That really hurts when you don't do it. But I'm telling you this. I'm telling you how this works because being aware of it, that fact that planning and failing feels even worse than just improvising and failing. Because just knowing that much is actually curative. Just knowing that much actually helps. Because I know you've got the self-esteem to handle it. The blow to your self-esteem of, but I really planned this and I organized myself and I had routines and it still failed. That blow to your self-esteem, if you know it's coming, you can handle it. If you understand how this works, you can say, well, I did put more into it, and the failure therefore was bigger. But no, I honor the fact that I put more into it. And I really did try hard, and I really did plan. And sure, it was a bigger disappointment, but it's also an honor to me that I at least tried. I know it hurts to do all the right things and to fail anyway. But I can handle it. You can handle it. And here's the big payoff. By staying in control, by staying focused, by not shrugging it off, you've now got the power to self-correct. You've now got the power to get back on track. To pick yourself up, dust yourself off.
And start all over again. I don't know, should I read the poem that Fear wrote?
The poem that Fear wrote. I assume these are lyrics, right?
Yes.
What is this poem?
I'll have to blank out some of them, though.
Well, what's the title? Or did you want to give the title of the poem?
Oh, yeah, it's called Gimme Some Action.
Give me some action.
It goes like this. You look like you fell asleep. Just sit down and blank your meat. I don't want no satisfaction. I just want to get some action. From your feet down to your hair, bodies flying through the air. Coming off the blanking wall, get off your blank and show some blank.
Okay, you may be editing this more than necessary. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish this essay by leaving of Fear.
I don't want no satisfaction. Just want to get some action. Just give me some action.
Yes. Incidentally, in the kitchen, we have one of those wooden mallets with the little uneven surface on it that you can use in order to tenderize inexpensive meats. So I don't think the lyric, just sit there and beat some meat, it doesn't have to be censored. I think...
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also the lovely poem by Henry Rollins.
Rollins.
Yeah, of the Rollins Band. It's called Do It. Yes.
Uh-huh.
That's about it. No. He says, don't think about it. Do it. Don't talk about it. Do it. Don't lie about it. Do it. And then he goes, he goes into all sorts of horrible things. That's not too bad, but it's like, don't talk about it. Don't lie about it. Do it. Don't cover it with a lie, man. Do it. Just do it. So there you are. Thank you, Henry Rollins.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Because one of the things I wanted to mention was there's a short, I wouldn't even call it an essay online, and I had to track it down because it goes around. There are people who've read it on YouTube, and there are people who share it as memes. And I finally found it was written by somebody who goes by the writer, the nom de plume of Strangest Loop. I guess if you were trying to come up with a pen name for yourself, Strangest Loop would be one that you could be pretty sure nobody else would call themselves.
Very true.
Yeah. So Strangest Loop posted this. Preparing to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Scheduling time to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Making a to-do list for the thing isn't doing the thing. Telling people you're going to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Messaging friends who may or may not be doing the thing isn't doing the thing. Hating on yourself for not doing the thing isn't doing the thing. Hating on other people who have done the thing isn't doing the thing. Hating on obstacles in the way of doing the thing isn't doing the thing. Fantasizing about all of the adoration you'll receive once you do the thing isn't doing the thing. Reading about how to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Reading about how other people did the thing isn't doing the thing. Reading this essay isn't doing the thing. The only thing that is doing the thing is doing the thing.
And I would add to this, even if you got a half-ass it, that'll get you to do the thing.
As Jack White tells us, something's better than nothing. So yes, even if you can't do it as well as you think you should have, or as well as you wanted, get something done. You can perfect it later, or decide it didn't need to be perfected.
So last night, it was about 9 o'clock Eastern time, and I'm sitting around, I'm thinking, Robert and I, we could watch, another whatever episode of whatever, and, but no, I decided to do the thing.
So what did you do? What did we do?
Yeah, I'm like, Robert, I'm going to need your help. Mm-hmm. So what I did, and I don't know if this is the first or maybe second or third time I've done this, but so we have our Great Lakes Objectivist meetings, our GLOW meetings.
Once a month. Dinner included.
And we feed people. We feed the non-homeless. Usually, they're usually not home. They usually have a home. And anyway, and then I've changed it up. It used to be more like a social event, sort of like thing. We would do a round robin. We would talk about how we're doing, all this thing. It's very social, fun, and all that stuff. But I decided that I wanted to have a lot more structure this year. So we decided to forego GLOW for February and just start up. We did one in January, but just started again in March. And so I basically selected all of the dates. So I know exactly when GLOW is going to be each month, and so do our members. And also I don't know if Greg's on our list or not, but I think Jennifer. Anyway, this is forthcoming. So for those of you who know about GLOW, it's changed up. 5 o'clock is dinner. 7 o'clock is actually reading aloud an essay by Ayn Rand, usually by Ayn Rand.
Yeah, incidentally, if there's anybody in the chat who's part of Great Lakes Objectivists and did not get a Facebook Messenger message that included that information, let us know so we can add you to that list. We used to use email for all of this, but email kind of went by the wayside around COVID time.
Yeah.
When social media just became a more efficient way to do these things. So, yes.
So, yeah,
absolutely.
I picked some...
Jeff Bannister says late again.
Aw, hey, Jeff. It's okay to be late. You're here.
Well, I thought of you earlier, Jeff, because, I was going to say this more toward the end of our discussion, but do the thing. And part of do the thing is I'm looking at my own resume. I'm considering going back into IT. Information technology, which I retired from 5 years ago. But I'm looking at my business cards, which say, what do they say? Podcaster, musician,
philosopher. I don't know.
I can't remember what my own business card says.
You'll have to.
But the point is, I do remember that it says musician.
Yes.
And boy, that's going to bug me now. I'll look it up on Facebook. It's on there too. As a musician, I have not been playing out in years. So I am, and Amy, you probably too, we are so out of practice. And we've been playing with friends.
Yeah.
I've got a thing going with a keyboard player, and now it's expanded to include Amy on both bass guitar and drums, and his wife, Hayeka, on background vocals. But point is, I'm finally starting to play music again. The one thing I haven't been doing is recording anything. So I need to start recording things. And there's a couple of Facebook groups where you can record yourself playing something, just, acoustically, on acoustic guitar, piano, something like that, and post them and get feedback. And everybody says, you suck. And, and a few people are like, you're the best thing ever. And occasionally you actually get some constructive criticism too. Either way, it's all nice. It's all good. I got to start doing more of that. I got to start doing that again. So Exhibit A is on my Facebook wall. A couple of you already saw it, and thank you for liking it if you did. just to get in the habit and to put stuff out there. Do you remember during COVID, I talked about it on 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, that people, if you're one of those people who used to play guitar and you think of yourself as somebody who used to play guitar, cut that out. Get that guitar out. Or if you gave it away or sold it, get another one. They're cheap. Resale shops, $25. You can get a working guitar. Well, maybe not a very working one. If you know a little bit about luthierery or just how to handle a file, I could talk you through how to make it playable. Point is, get out there and play music and play music and play music. And so during those crazy years, I posted myself reading poetry or playing piano or doing things, and I have not been doing that. And I got to start doing it again. So that's why Exhibit A is up. It's just me playing a Moody Blues song, not especially well, but that's the point, is unless you do it and do it and do it and do it, you're not going to do it especially well, except for those of you who have enormous natural talent, and I'm not jealous of you at all. Don't worry about that. And so do it. Just do it. Do the thing. If your business card says musician, play music. Get out there and play music and get yourself ready to walk into a coffee shop or a nightclub or a bar and play a few songs on open mic night and maybe eventually up on stage as the main act. But the point is, if your business card doesn't say musician, it says something else. Maybe you don't actually have a paper business card like some of us do. If you're young, you probably think, business cards? Nobody does that anymore. But whatever you see yourself as or want to see yourself as, yeah, you should be doing that. You should be taking action.
So I found it. It says, guitarist, technician, and host of 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. Sundays at 6.
So technician.
Yeah, technician.
So it still lists me as a technician, even though I haven't been doing that for 5 years. Well, I've done some. Somebody listening might know because I fixed your computer in the last 5 years. So yeah, I guess that's still a big part of my identity, being an MCSE, CCNA, Field IT. Actually, all those certifications I got like 20 years ago, and I have to renew them or just stop calling myself those things. Whatever. Most of you have heard of Ira Glass, a host on NPR, National Public Radio, which is probably going to lose their subsidies soon. Hopefully they're making enough money on those other sponsorships they do. And Ira Glass, one of his most famous radio essays, one of the most famous things he did on the radio, it's just a couple minutes long, and he didn't call it this at the time, but now everybody calls it The Gap. And it's worth listening to. I could tell you the gist of it, but it's worth listening to. There's a link in the show notes, the description on Facebook, on YouTube. I'll update the one on Facebook after the show. And I loved when we were in England a couple years ago, because every time that you step onto the tube, the underground, the subway, there's an automated speaker that says, "Mind the gap." And Ira Glass calls this radio essay The Gap. And what he talks about is, if you're a creative person, if you're in a creative field, and I think this applies to anything, if you're in a creative field, you got into that field because you have an idea of what really excellent work looks like. And so you get into that field and you want to do the kinds of things that you love. And the problem is there's this gap. You get into it, and the stuff that you do isn't very good. And it's not at all close to what you look out there and see and say, I want to do it like that. And the only way to bridge that gap is to do lots of really bad work. Not intentionally bad, just whatever you do, if you're just starting out, it's not going to be good. And you've got to do it anyway, and do it some more, and do it some more, and learn as you go and take classes and all that. But classes aren't going to teach you to do good work. They'll give you skills you've got to have. It's like a prerequisite. But no, to do really good work, this was so true in IT when I was a field technician. To get good, you've got to go out there and do lots of work. Other than those people with that natural talent. Some people believe there's no such thing as natural talent, and I will accept that for the purpose of this discussion. So, link to that is in the show notes under the title Mind the Gap, because I thought that was humorous. But Ira Glass, The Gap.
Yeah, I don't think Jim heard. Mind the Gap is basically the space between the platform And the tube or the subway.
Yeah, just don't accidentally get your high heels stuck between, or, it's only an inch or two gap. It's pretty tightly designed. It's not like you're jumping across to get on the train.
Yeah, I would recommend no more than 2 inches in a high heel for you, Jim. So
yeah, if you're wearing high heels, mind the gap, or in any other way that you might accidentally drop your cell phone, down into the trough of the underground there. Yes. And it was always funny because it's automated, so you hear it every time, whether you need to hear that or not.
Yeah.
Action.
Yeah. So action. All right. So
everybody wants a piece of the action.
So back to Glow, our schedule for Glow. I basically picked out, most of it is basically essays that you can find on the Ayn Rand Institute, ARU campus or whatever it's called, and but it's online, and I've got links to everything, and it's going to be great. We can read it and kind of take turns, maybe reading it if we wanted to, and then spend a few minutes, in between a couple of pages to discuss, and moderate that, of course, with the time, because we're probably not going to be staying up until 5 in the morning. Well. Probably not. Not unless we really want to, but for the most part, no. But I just love the fact that we planned something out for the entire year now, and I feel like in that way I kind of own all of these months ahead, and it's not because I've been feeling with things that come up that are happening, not quite in my world but sort of in my world,
blown by the winds.
I've been feeling like I've been tossed and turned these last couple of months, and it's really important to have something scheduled every month. And, whether that's, plan to go out to a particular restaurant you have never been to, and do it 6 months, 8 months, 10 months ahead of time. And then you'll have something to really, really look forward to. Because really, half of the fun of anything in life is anticipation. And picturing yourself in a situation where it's really pleasant or really fun or really adventurous. So I recommend that very much. Yeah,
one of the challenges of feeling listless or listed, if you're a sailor, is not knowing where you're going. George Harrison says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. I think he's quoting somebody there. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Well, the problem is where there ends up being. And it's very hard to feel that there's any direction without that. And the only vacation that we had scheduled ahead of time for this year was Ocon.
Yes.
Going to Boston in early July. And usually we would have something else, at least one or two something else is coming up. And it gives you that sense of anticipation and gives extra meaning to all the things between there and there. So now having these monthly get-togethers scheduled in advance for the rest of the year, it's good. That's an anchor or a series of benchmarks or... Well, you get the idea. And because you've already shipped it out, sent it out, shared it with everybody, we've now got, dozens of accountability partners. People who are expecting now for us to do this thing and will hold us
Yes.
accountable if we don't. And you don't need to feel like that's a great burden. You could always cancel if you have to. Oh, I'm under the weather. Oh, I have a doctor's appointment that came up that I can't change. Oh, I don't feel like it. Well, maybe not that last one, but it doesn't need to feel like a burden, but it can feel like an anchor in the best sense of the word. Point is, take action. Do take action. You deserve this. You deserve to take action on what you want. And you are strong enough to handle it if things don't go as you've planned. Amy, you mentioned that a lot of punk rock is good with this message.
Yes.
And there's a band called DOA out of Canada.
Yeah.
And their band motto, well, the name of one of their albums, and it essentially became their motto at that point, was, because they mentioned it earlier on an album from 8 years earlier, talk minus action equals zero.
Zero.
Talk minus action equals zero. And, of course, it's a great way to address things like hypocrisy out in the culture. But even in your own personal life, Talk minus action equals 0. I like it. I like that.
I love it. I've loved DOA, gosh, for the longest time. And I actually got to meet him, last year? Joey Shithead Keithley. That's his real name.
Everybody in the band had unusual names.
But man, is he great. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I never even knew of them until Amy introduced me. And then we've seen them live.
Oh my gosh.
And met Joey, who is super cool.
Oh, he's just the sweetest.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty much deaf, but that's okay.
Yeah. We have shared many times on 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir the expression, be who you are. And some people take that to mean, do whatever you feel, man. But no, be who you are. Live up to who you are, your own identity, who you want to be.
I want to be Debbie Allen.
Well, do you want to do what Debbie Allen did? Then do it. Live up to it. Well, you're a flamenco dancer.
Well, yeah.
And speaking of that, and I mentioned that I'm going to start posting videos and sharing musical-related stuff on the internet to make anybody who cares to look an accountability partner for me. Amy went to her weekly flamenco practice this morning, and she called me up and said, our guitarists, they have a live music when they perform when the guitarist is available. Good guy named Steve. Apparently the guitarist wants to expand the group out. If you're going to do live music, if you know anything about flamenco, there's often a singer, and there's often more than one guitarist. But the other thing is there's often a percussionist. And the dancers, whoever's not dancing a particular dance, will often be part of that with hand claps and the various kinds of hand claps. But really common in flamenco is the cajon, the box drum.
Yes.
That wooden box drum you sometimes see people sitting on and playing with their palms. And apparently Steve the guitarist said, maybe Robert could play that with us. Because Steve knows that in theory I'm a musician.
Yeah, he certainly agreed, but I was the one who brought you up.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I'm going to try it.
Yes.
I do own a cajon and practice for the next week. We'll show up at practice next week and see what happens.
It was a really nice thing. I mean, it's one of those things where, as a flamenco dance troupe, it's unusual. We actually do choreographed dances. We're all, 4 or 5 or 6 of us dance the same dance, which is really, really unusual and very, very hard to do with flamenco.
There's usually more soloing.
Yeah, more soloing or a duet, between 2 dancers. So we're kind of getting into that where one person will kind of leave the group and do the hand clapping, or the palmas as we call them. And then you've got a guitarist, you've got a drummer. Sometimes you have a singer. Hopefully at some point we'll have a singer. But anyway, we're building up our group. And it was really, really fun today to kind of think about different ways to become a bit more multi-dimensional as a band or as a dance troupe. So it's going to be great. And I'm so glad that Robert has agreed to try this out.
And it may be a complete failure. My weakness in music, I know music theory. I know rhythm. I know harmony. I know melody. But I'm just kidding. I don't really know rhythm. My rhythm is terrible.
No,
it's my big weakness as a musician. If you watch that, Jim Ashley asked which Moody Blues song, it's The Story in Your Eyes. And if you watch that video, you'll realize, Robert's rhythm isn't very good. And my rhythm isn't very good, so playing a drum, playing a cajon will be interesting. But again, if you weren't born with that natural rhythm, like Frank Zappa, no, he wasn't either. Well, he jokes about it in the song Dancing Fool. You got to practice. You got to pay your dues. And so I'm going to practice. I'm going to pay my dues. And I want that for you. I want you to take action. I want you to look in the mirror, ideally literally, but metaphorically, if that's what you're more comfortable with, and say, who am I? And am I doing all the things that match what I want to be who I really am? And if you are, great. That's cool. But if you're one of those people like me who has a few areas where you think, I've always wanted to ... fill in that blank. Yeah, I think it's time. It's March 2nd. In 2 days, we march forth to meet our ideals, to reach our goals. Plan it, organize it, write it down on paper, bring in other people, bring in mentors, bring in coaches, and put it on paper in a way that feels like, oh my God, I wrote it down, now I got to do something, or I'll be so disappointed with myself. Do it. Do all of the things. Trust me, you are tougher than you realize. You can handle a little disappointment in order to earn a huge, heaping helping of pride. Do the things. Take action. And I'll leave you with this. I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was just going to say, let's turn to the chat before we go.
Good. What's going on in the chat?
Okay, so we just got some funny things in here.
Ian says he wants to be Pete Townsend or maybe John Cleese. That's an interesting either or.
Yeah, go for it.
I'd love to be Pete Townsend if I could get his windmill action down.
Oh, yes. Yeah, or John Cleese and have that wonderful sense of comic timing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, what else?
Let's see here. We almost lost Paul as a child.
Really?
He got his foot stuck in the gap. And
yeah, well, that's why they say that now.
Glad you survived there.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Richard James says, is Paul McCartney a genius? Of course he is. He absolutely, and he's a genius in the way that I particularly admire, because I always admire musicians who are multi-instrumentalists. And Paul McCartney plays everything. Some of you might not realize on his solo albums, he plays all the instruments. And he's brought in guest musicians, and of course when he was in the band Wings, he was in a band with other musicians. But his first solo album, his second one, and I believe his third one too, he plays all the instruments, including drums, which, is a little unusual.
Yeah, I saw that one video of him playing drums.
Yeah, I mean, there are Beatles albums where he played the drums. That was very rare, but on the White Album, Ringo basically quit for a couple of weeks, and they recorded both Back in the USSR and Dear Prudence, and Paul is playing the drums on those songs. And through the magic of multi-tracking, also playing the bass and singing. So yes, Paul McCartney is absolutely a genius. What else have we got in the chat?
I just want to mention that cajon, the box drum, is spelled Cajon.
Yes, without an E at the end. Although I have that too.
And not with a K.
Oh, okay.
Which means the other thing you would think it would be.
Uh-huh. And why is it pronounced cajon? If there was a P instead of a J, it would be a capon. And the answer is, of course, it's Spanish.
Yes. And I guess John Cleese, it's not John Cleese, it's John Cleese, as in cheese. Okay. More you know. Let's see here. Jim says in the Facebook chat, no matter where you go, there you are. That's said by Buckaroo Banzai. And we also have another...
Buckaroo Banzai in the 8th dimension. And he also mentions that the story in your eyes is on the album Every Good Boy Deserves Favor. I got that vinyl album when I was 14. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Well, but do you know, here's a trivia question for you, why did they call the album that? Or rather, what is that phrase commonly used for? Every good boy deserves favor.
I know the answer.
Well, let's see if anybody in the chat gets it too.
Yes. Gary says Benjamin Franklin said or he basically quoted, well done is better than well said.
Well done is better than well said.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, and Mary Poppins tells us that well begun is half done. That's what it is. Well begun is half done, which I like too. And I like Mary Poppins anyway.
Yes. Yes, and yet strangely, says Chandler, cajones are not box-shaped.
Yes.
And they don't have a hole in them.
What? Yes, I do. What? Or is he? Oh, cojones.
Cojones.
Okay. Yes, cojones. You don't want to strike cojones the same way you do a cajon. It will make a noise, or rather, somebody will make a noise, but it's not what you want to do. No. I will thank you very much to skip that idea.
Yes. But yeah, okay. So did we want to mention any current events or no?
Yeah, we mentioned that we weren't going to mention current events, which meant that we would mention them briefly and then say we're not going to mention them, but we haven't mentioned them. Is there anything really to say that we haven't said online?
I'll just say, you know what, just look through history and understand what's going on in a historical perspective, I think would be good. And also, ask yourself, the logical questions of, well, if somebody does this or treats this person that way, what's going to happen next? And what was this person's motivation? Think in terms of motivation and causality and history and kind of that sort of thinking. And you'll get far in life trying to figure out all of these really dumbass things that are happening right now. All right.
Yeah.
Epistemology, folks.
Well, yeah, that's keeping it vague, but probably the best idea there.
Yeah.
No, it's I've done whole shows, and we will do whole shows again on how much weight to give current events, and in particular the negative things, the negative aspects of life, not just in the news, but in your own life as well. How to live your own best life, and how much do you weigh values versus threats or disvalues. And you already know my answer to that. You should give exactly, no more, no less, 97% of your time, attention, focus, resources, blood, spirit, everything to values, to things that are positive, that things that are worth focusing on, things that are worth pursuing, things that are worth indulging in, things that are worth bringing into your life. And not to give short shrift to everything else. No, 3%, a whole big 3% of your life should be spent managing threats to your values, disvalues. And you should have locks on your doors where appropriate. You should have insurance against things that might happen. You should support your local police, your local fire department. And you should spend a little bit of time writing letters to your Congress critters and maybe showing up to vote, maybe reading the news every now and then and staying informed. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little. And as I said before, 97.3 may not be your numbers. You may be doing something else for a living, for example. If you are a cop, if you are in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, or your country's equivalents. But do decide in advance. Pick some numbers out that really match your spirit and then try to live up to that. And if you catch yourself spending, the numbers are loose, but a lot more of your time than you really want to on things that are making you unhappy or that are distracting you from what you really want to do, from taking action on your values. No, don't criticize yourself. Don't feel ashamed. Don't be depressed about it. Just say, oh, okay, I need to pull back. I need to make this more about me and less about all the stuff out there.
Yes. Yeah, so I recently subscribed to the Facebook page for Hello Kitty.
Facebook page for Hello Kitty. All right.
Which, by the way, so trivia, Debbie Allen was my very first hero.
Debbie Allen was your first hero.
And Hello Kitty was the very first thing that I drew.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's trivia there. So Hello Kitty says, before you check your phone in the morning,
okay.
Number 1, hydrate.
Okay, hydrate.
Number 2, stretch.
Does coffee count as hydrating?
Yes.
Oh.
3 is make your bed. 4 is eat breakfast. 5 is plan your day. And finally, 6 is have coffee or tea.
Oh, so hydrate doesn't count. Or rather, it's on the list, but
well,
I actually have to drink water.
Water and coffee.
I usually drink filtered water.
Yes.
filtered through a coffee filter with coffee
And
grounds.
that's all the things you need to do before you check your phone in the morning. So
Before
I'm
you
really before you check your phone in the morning. That's something. Oh my gosh.
Before you, is that a challenge for you?
Yeah, it's a challenge for me. Yeah.
Yes. And I would say just as, maybe even more important than that, at some point in the evening, and I don't mean right when you go to bed, put the damn phone down. Get rid of your smartphone, tablet, shut down your computer, whatever it is. Yeah, turn that stuff, even television. Just have some amount of time before you get into bed that is not about the avalanche that's coming in through your devices.
Greg says, "What? No morning pages?"
Really, Hello Kitty? I don't know. Did the people at Sanrio not read The Artist's Way? Disappointing, but
Oh yes,
nobody's
I
perfect,
getcha.
not even
I
Hello
getcha.
Kitty.
I hear you, Greg.
Well,
And then finally, I think Greg does win. I think he knows what they act the list of strange words that you sprouted out a few minutes ago. The like every good boy does whatever.
so Greg knows that every good boy deserves favor. Yes. Yeah, Greg says every good boy does fine, as long as they begin with those letters, E, G, B, D, because these are the note names, reminders of the notes on a treble clef staff,
Yes.
on staff paper, on music. If you look at sheet music, the top one there, some of us actually memorized it using the spaces, which is easier because there's only 4 of them. So F-A-C-E, face.
Yes. Yes.
But yes, if you're memorizing the lines, it would be every good boy deserves favor, or whichever one you learned. But I'm a bass player, so I learned, A, C, E, G. And there wasn't really a word for that. I guess Ace G, if you could just remember the G. Yes, thank you for that. Every good boy deserves favor was chosen because it is something every musician knows. And
it's true.
Oh yeah, Greg says, piano teacher taught me something like that. Yeah, Greg, you need to play the piano more when you come over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah. So it's really nice. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. This has been lovely and a nice, as Gary on Facebook, he said it's a nice respite.
Good. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining us. Our counts have been a little bit up. We were dipping below 100 views per episode after Christmas. And now we're back up. We're back into the 3 digits regularly. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you are on YouTube, please consider clicking the like button, which definitely helps in terms of what YouTube shows people. I assume you're already subscribed, but it won't even always show you your subscribed content unless you actually like stuff that's in that subscription. Otherwise, you just kind of see the same few people over and over again. So yes, please like, please share. And we have a new patron. Thank you. Somebody went to Patreon this month and signed up for being a patron of the show. Thank you very much for that. You know who you are. If you're in the chat right now, I haven't seen your name in there. Feel free to let us know if you would like us to mention you by name. Hello, Ryan. Ryan is saying hello, so thank you for that. And yeah, and that's it. Long comment from Jim. I should read it, but it looks like maybe it's going to be about the world out there. He says, on Friday, I watched and heard an interaction between 2 people, one of whom brought his buddy with him. One of them being practical, the other being pragmatic. The conversation deteriorated, and millions of people saw and heard it. Very sad, obviously. This was, I think we know what conversation you're talking about there if millions of people heard it. And folks, the objectivists, the Ayn Rand fans out there will know that when Jim says pragmatic, he doesn't mean practical, real-world oriented. He means unprincipled.
And short-sighted.
Short-sighted, short-range, out of context.
Expedience of the moment.
But that's a real philosophical question.
Yeah.
Is pragmatism practical?
No, but not in the way that we define it.
So yes.
You know, and actually one more thing is that Chandler mentions it's very true. Integrating principles keeps things really manageable.
Yes.
You know,
principles are philosophical, so they're part of philosophy, but they're also just an extension of reason. You take in information from the world, percepts, and your senses automatically integrate it, and integrate your sensations into percepts. You integrate your percepts into concepts. Words. Okay, you got words. You're 2-3 years old, you start putting words together into sentences because you want to say more than just cat, door. And then you take those sentences and you put them together into ideas. You take your propositions and you form higher level and higher level ideas. And all of this comes from the world, from those sensations, from what's out there. So if you're doing it rationally, your sentences mean something. They match up with facts. And then you integrate those into higher and higher level abstractions. And the highest abstractions are moral abstractions. But they're still from all that stuff out there. If your morals are rational, they are still identifications of cat and door and life and virtue and the real world and how to achieve success. And what the pragmatist does is he says, well, forget all those connections to reality. It's all too complicated. I'm just going to do whatever works. Or whatever I was brought up to believe works, or whatever everybody out there thinks works, and will make me popular and successful. So when Jim mentions one of them being pragmatic, that is not a compliment.
Yeah.
And we'll leave that there. And yes, those are certainly some of the terms in which Friday's conversation that many of us also observed can be understood.
Yeah, shout out to Ayn Rand, who had the courage and the tenacity and the intelligence to come up with a philosophy that was coherent and based on logic and causality, based on what's real.
What is?
And boy, oh boy, her ideas have helped me out. The principles that help guide me that she wrote about, is such an excellent guide for figuring all this stuff out and saying, yeah, I can call a spade here. I know what's going on. I know what's actually happening here and what the facts are. Facts are a lot easier to find when you have rational principles to guide you.
That's what they're for.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's good that you mentioned that. We did an episode a couple weeks ago, Ayn Rand's Greatest Hits. The best things, the things we love, not necessarily her greatest philosophical achievement. Harry Binswanger did a great version of that. But what we loved most and found most valuable from her, and you're right, Amy, we didn't talk much about that because we were basically looking at what y'all were saying in the chat, and that made for a good hour of fun. But at some point we need to revisit that again and put ourselves out there a little more. But right now, we're out of time. It's 5 minutes after the hour, and that means 5 minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir is coming to a close. Again, thank you for your likes and shares. Thank you to our new patron on Patreon. If you too want to support 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, keep this show happening. If you want to send us $2, $5, $10, $20 a month, and believe me, any amount is appreciated, patreon.com/Robert Nasir. Or just go to robertnasir.com, look at the bottom of the page. You'll find links to everything you want to know about, and even a few things you don't want to know about. No, just kidding. It's all good. Folks, thank you for joining us. This has been 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. All that is left for us to do is to wish you, afraid to wish, Mr. Reardon? No, to wish you all of the success that you so richly deserve. And if you haven't achieved all of the success you want, well, get out there and take action. I know you will, and that's why we also, we wish you love.